Hello students, as you all know that we were doing the assessment of personality, and in the last presentation I have discussed the self-report measures. In this presentation I will cover the projective techniques, and in the projective techniques under the technique of projection there is Rorschach ink block test, thematic apperception test, Rosenzweig's picture frustration test, sentence completion test, and draw a person test. This projective technique, it is very important from exam point of view too. Projective technique, let us know what is projective techniques. So the techniques of personality assessment described so far are known as direct techniques. Why? Because they tend to rely on information directly obtained from the person who clearly knows that her or his personality is being assessed. If we go back and recall the self-report measures, we see that yes, it is a direct method of obtaining information from the person where the person himself or herself have to report his or her own feelings, looking at the questionnaires, whatever is applicable through the statement, he or she just marks it, isn't it? That is why that has been regarded as the direct technique. In such tests, people generally become self-conscious and hesitate to share their private feelings, thoughts, and motivations, and they often do it in a socially desirable manner. When we talked about the limitations of self-report measures, we have come across this point, isn't it? Now, direct methods of personality assessment cannot uncover the unconscious part of our behavior. They fail to provide us with a real picture of an individual's personality, and these problems can be overcome by using indirect methods of assessment, and projective techniques fall in this category. So if you are asked which is the direct technique of personality assessment, that will be the self-report measures. And if you are asked about the indirect method of assessment, it is the projective technique. Okay, it is an indirect method of assessing personality. Don't forget, very important point. Now, this technique is an indirect method which is used to uncover and assess the large part of the behavior, which is governed by the unconscious motives, as direct, that is self-report methods, cannot assess. Now, these techniques are based on the assumption that a less structured or unstructured stimulus or situation will allow the individual to project her or his feelings, desires, and needs onto that situation. So, these projections are interpreted by experts. So, in order to use projective techniques, the person have to be an expert in that. Because here we are talking about unconscious motives, which the direct methods cannot assess. So in order to assess the feelings, desires, and needs, they are given a less structured or an unstructured stimulus or situation. Okay, that allows the individual to project his or her feelings, desires, or needs. So methods include reporting association with stimuli words, ink blots, story writing around pictures. Some require sentence completion, expression through drawings. So these are the ways that are used under projective techniques. We will see all these tests one by one. This is very important and this is also very interesting. So before moving on to the test one by one, it is very important to understand the features of this projective technique. The projective techniques, they follow certain features. Okay. Number one, The stimuli are relatively or fully unstructured and poorly defined. Number 2, the subject is not told about the purpose of assessment and method of scoring and interpretation. So there this difference lies with that of self-report measures, where in self-report measures the subject knows that their personality is being assessed. But while conducting the projective techniques, the subjects are not told about the purpose of assessment and method of scoring and interpretation. It is also not known by the subject. Number 3, the person is informed that there is no correct or incorrect answer. Number 4, each response is considered to reveal a significant aspect of personality. Number 5, scoring and interpretation are lengthy and sometimes subjective. So these are the 5 important features of the projective technique. The first one under the projective test is the Rorschach-Blot test. Let's see what is it. So the Rorschach-Blot test, it was developed by Hermann Rorschach, and the test consists of 10 inkblots. 5 of them are in black and white, 2 with some red ink, and the remaining 3 in some pastel colors. Okay. Now the blots are symmetrical in design with a specific shape or form, and each blot is printed in the center of a white cardboard of about 7 into 10 feet inch, and the blots were originally made by dropping ink on a piece of paper and then folding the paper in half. Therefore, it got the name inkblot test. Even if you try it at home, you will get to see by yourself. What you have to do is that take a piece of paper, square size paper, okay, and then drop a little bit of ink on the center of the paper, and then you fold it in half. And when you unfold it, you will see that there are certain shapes made over there, okay, and you yourself will see how interesting it is. And if you show the same card to some other person, the other person will see some other things over there. Okay, now the cards, as we know that there are 10 inkblot cards, and the cards are administered individually in 2 phases. That means the 10 inkblot cards are shown twice. In the first phase, it is called performance proper, where the subjects are shown the cards one by one and are asked to tell what they see in each of them. Okay, that is the first phase. Then in the second phase, which is called inquiry, again the 10 inkblot cards are shown to the subject and they are asked what they see, where they see, and on what basis was a particular response made. Okay, so that means a detailed report of the response is prepared by asking the subject regarding all these factors, like where, how, and on what basis was a particular response made. And if they have seen something, through which means or in which position they are saying, it is upward position or downward position, left side, right side, everything is being asked. That is why in the second phase it is the enquiry phase. Okay, so fine judgment is necessary to place the subject's responses in a meaningful context. The use and interpretation of this test requires extensive training, and nowadays computer techniques too have been developed for analysis of data. Now here on the screen, as you look, we'll see an image. Now let me tell you that this is the first card of the Rorschach-Blot test. As mentioned, black and white. So this is a black and white image. And if I tell you to look properly and imagine, I'm pretty sure some of you in your response will say that you have imagined it to be a butterfly. Some will say that it is a kind of mask, and some other you will say that it is a bird, it's a dragon, there are two hands you can see. So what I'm trying to say is that in this one particular card only you can see many images depending on your imagination, and each of you individually, I'm sure it will be different. Okay, there will be many responses made with this one card. Now if we move on to the next slide, you will get to see some other images too from the Rorschach ink blot test. So these are all from the Rorschach ink blot test. Okay, the first image, again it is one of the black and white images. The second one right on top, there you will see it is the pastel colors from the remaining last 7 cards. One of them is this one, pastel colors. And in the bottom right corner you will see black and red ink. Okay, and on the bottom left corner this was the first card. So all this card, if you see properly, you will imagine various images, and that is how people respond. And it requires very intensive training for a person to analyze the responses, and that is how we come to know about the personality of an individual. Okay, now let us move on to another projective technique, which is the thematic apperception test, also known as TAT. So this test was developed by Morgan and Murray. It is a little more structured than the ink blot test. So ink blot test, it is unstructured. Okay. In comparison to the ink blot test, the thematic apperception test, that is TAT, it is more structured. Okay. Now thematic apperception test, it consists of 30 black and white picture cards and one blank card. And each picture card depicts one or more people in a variety of situations. And each picture is printed on a card. So here there are no unstructured images or unstructured stimulus, that of ink blot test, but here 30 black and white picture cards are there. Okay, picture cards and one blank card. So some cards are used with adult males or females, others are used with boys or girls, whereas still others are used in some combinations. Okay, so 20 cards are appropriate for a subject. Although a lesser number of cards, even 5, have also been successfully used. So while using this test for a particular subject, we can use only 20 cards out of the 30 black and white picture cards and one blank card. 20 cards is enough in order to analyze the personality of a individual. And there are also lesser number of cards, that means even with 5 cards also it can be analyzed very successfully. Okay, so in a way all these cards are used in a combination, and there are some selected cards which are used only with adult males or females, and some are used with only boys or girls, but we can use both in some combinations. So let us see the method. So the method used under TAT is that one card is presented at a time, asking the subject to tell a story describing the situation presented in the picture. Suppose I show you a picture card and I will ask you that what you see in that picture, and you have to tell me a story, what you have uh, perceived from that? What is your assumption from that picture? And the questions like, what led up to that situation? What is happening at the moment? What will happen in future? What are the characters thinking and feeling? So these are some of the questions which the experimenter asks the subject while showing the card. Okay, and the subject have to report accordingly. So a standard procedure is followed for scoring the TAT responses. And an Indian adaptation is done by Uma Chaudhary. So these are the two picture cards from TAT where you have to see the situation and what do you think the characters are doing at the current moment in the picture. In the first card you will see two ladies. One is an old lady and one is a young lady. So you have to imagine what is going on. What do you see? In the second one again, two characters are there. So what are the two characters? What are they thinking? What are they doing in the picture? In future, what they will do? So these are some of the things that comes out from an individual's mind, and which I'm pretty sure it is not same for every individual. Now, if I say something, of course it will not match with some of you. I'm not sure it will match or not. So that is why there comes individual differences while understanding and analyzing the personality. This is another way of assessing personality. The next method under projective technique is Rosenzweig's picture frustration study, which is also known as PF study. Okay. Now Rosenzweig's picture frustration study, PF study, it was developed by Rosenzweig to assess how people express aggression in a frustrating situation. Now here in this test, it consists of cartoon-like pictures depicting situations where one person is frustrating other. And the subject is asked to describe what the frustrated person will say or do. An analysis is based on the type and direction of aggression, that is towards oneself or environment or evading the situation. And it is examined whether the focus is on frustrating object or protecting the frustrated person or an constructive solution. Now see here on the screen, you can see 4 different pictures in 4 different situations. And the subject is asked to report what will be the response by the other character. For instance, in the top left corner, you can see there's written number 1. So in the picture, we can see 2 characters in a car, and they say that I'm very sorry we splashed your chlorine just now, though we tried hard to avoid a puddle. So in that situation, depending on the other character and also your state of mind, if you think that it makes you angry, what will be your response to that? So that you have to report. Likewise, on the next picture, you can see that is number 8 on the on the top right corner. Your girlfriend invited me to the dance tonight. She said you weren't going. Similarly, you can see on number 13, I can't see you this morning even though we made the arrangement yesterday. Fine. Now, on the next, number 17, it says that this is a fine time to have lost the keys. So in all these pictures, we can see that one dialog box is empty in all the situations. So that one dialog box, the subject has to report. Okay. So as the name suggests, picture frustration study. So here, the subject is asked to tell the other frustrated person, that what he or she will do. Okay. And basically an attempt is made to examine whether the focus is on the frustrating object, or on protection of the frustrated person, or on constructive solution of the problem. So basically the direction of aggression may be towards the environment, towards oneself, or it may be tuned off in an attempt to gloss over or evade the situation. Okay. The fourth test under projective technique is the sentence completion test. This test is very simple and easy also to use. So this test makes use of number of incomplete sentences. As the name itself suggests, sentence completion test. So the starting of the sentence is presented and the subject has to provide an ending of the sentence. Just like you all have done so far, that fill in the blanks kind of things. So this is like sentence completion you all have done in grammar. So the type of ending helps assess the unconscious attitude, motivation and conflicts. Only difference is that earlier in grammar, when you used to do sentence completion, it was different. Here in psychological test, when we use sentence completion test, the statements are quite different. For example, see, my father dash. Now here what you will write. My father what? Maybe you will write, my father is good. My father is very supportive. My father is a police officer, and so on. There can be so many responses to this one sentence, my father dash, and you have to complete it. My greatest fear is dash. The best thing about my mother is dash. I am proud of dash. So basically it is descriptive. We usually need to describe through the sentence completion test in order to assess the unconscious attitude, motivation and conflicts within us. Okay. The last test under the projective technique is known as a draw person test. Very simple, but it is very hard to analyze again. So it is a very simple test again, in which the subject is asked to draw a person on a sheet of paper, and a pencil and eraser is provided to facilitate drawing. After the completion of the drawing, the subject is generally asked to draw the figure of an opposite sex person. Okay, so if I am a girl, I have to draw a picture of a boy. If you are a boy, you have to draw the picture of a girl. Simple. Now finally, the subject is asked to make a story about the person as if she or he was a character in a novel or play. Then you have to describe the person, whatever you have drawn. How you will describe that person? So some examples of interpretations from the draw a person test. It is, omission of facial features suggests that the person tries to evade a highly conflict-ridden interpersonal relationship. Now many times it's not enough that I have asked you to draw a person, and of course everyone is not an artist or painter or is expert in sketches or expert in drawing. So many times if a layman draws a person, how it will be? Sometimes just a circle depicting the face, no eyes, no nose, no ears, some or the other thing will be missing out. Even if we draw a person also, maybe the face will be crooked, maybe it is half circle, then we forget to give the eyes sometimes. Not we, like some people are there who are not into drawing, and especially not figure, human figure. So there, When there is omission of facial features, like that of like if someone is not drawing the eyes, if someone forgot to put the nose, put the mouth, put the ears, the hairs, any facial features. So that suggests that a person tries to evade a highly conflict-ridden interpersonal relationship. This is just one of the interpretation, that is one of analysis from that particular drawing. Okay. Number two, graphic emphasis on the neck suggests lack of control over impulses. So if the drawing depicts that there is this facial features are there, and then there is this long neck, okay, and the neck has been highlighted too much, it suggests that there is lack of control over impulses. Okay. Then number three, disproportionately large head suggests organic brain disease and preoccupation with headaches. Sometimes there are also some people who draws the heads too big. That means disproportionately large. The size of the head is bigger than the rest of the body. So that is suggested as some organic brain disease, or maybe there are some preoccupied headaches. So these are just some examples of interpretations. Not pretty sure that this has to be the reason why the person is drawing in that manner. Okay. But most of the time it is true. It is seen that the interpretations are true for some people, even if not all. This kind of drawing I'm talking about, if you see in the picture. Okay. So the analysis of personality with the help of projective techniques appears fairly interesting. I would say it is very interesting. And it helps to understand unconscious motives. Sometimes there are certain unconscious motives which we don't know ourselves. We are not aware of. Some deep-rooted conflicts are there within us. Interpersonal conflicts may be there which we are not aware of. Maybe we don't have a good relation with our family. We don't have a good relation with our friends. And even if we try to make friends, we cannot last long. We have some other conflicts. Then there are certain emotional complexes. Okay, so all these are analyzed through the use of projective techniques. Because again, we can say that it is not a direct approach, it is an indirect approach which makes the experimenter easy to understand people's unconscious motives. Okay. But however, the interpretation of the responses requires sophisticated skills and specialized training. Very important. Even if a lay person, even if you all go and just conduct this test, okay, conduction you all can do, but analysis, how you will come up with analysis? So in order to analyze the personality of a person, it is very important that you know the skills of analyzing the reports which the subject has given to you. From their responses, you have to take out the analysis, you have to evaluate, isn't it? So for that, you need certain sophisticated skills and training, specialized training. On the other hand, there are problems associated with the reliability of scoring and validity of interpretations. But the practitioners have found these techniques quite useful. True, very true. It is very useful, but only the practitioners can do. Only with specialized training it is possible. Okay. So today we have covered the projective techniques, and I hope it's very interesting from your part too. So try to go through it once again.